What are your impressions about Shah Rukh?
See, I think Shah Rukh understands where he came from. I think, I'm judging, maybe I may be wrong, but he understands what it is for a person to be doing one of their first films in the film industry. The magic bullet of all that Shah Rukh fires is a joke on himself. This is the greatest talent that he has.
Have you received the love and respect from Shah Rukh Khan?
Oh, lots. My God, of course. If I didn't feel it, I wouldn't be able to speak about that person the way I do. Lots. It's very, very mutual. Look, I don't think that the people who are sitting and deciding the fate and timeline of Shah Rukh Khan have anything to do with this. And let me say this, much as I find it difficult to say this, but let's imagine he did not have these 3 great hits.
What is the latest on the directorial venture, sir, and how special is it for you?
Oh, very special. Hi, this is Boman Irani and you're watching Connect Cine with Faridoon.
It's a huge privilege to have one of the finest actors in the Indian film industry and a man who's a huge inspiration and a hero for me personally. Mr. Boman Irani, huge pleasure to have you with us on Connect Cine, please.
Faridoon ji, we are so close right here. I can almost feel your heart is beating nicely and I hope you feel my heart is beating nicely. Just 3 feet away from each other. What do you say?
Sir, you are in my heart and I'm in your heart. And that will always be the case for sure. Belated happy birthday to you for 2nd December.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you for a fantastic performance in Dunki. So my first question to you will be, you're someone who's extremely fluent and eloquent as far as English language is concerned, and you have to say words like lavatory and speak English, which is maybe not the most perfect and far from perfect actually. And I think that's what acting is all about. What would you say to that?
Acting is believing, acting is lying. Acting is lying with the greatest sense of truth. The most honest way of lying is acting. But at the same time, it did not cross my mind till you told me the other day in a message that, I don't know if I'm very fluent in English, but you say so I'll believe you. But I'd never thought of it like that I have to unlearn English to do what that character did. It just boils down to being truthful to the character, truthful to the moment. जो हमें acting school में सिखाते, मैं तो acting school में गया नहीं, दिख के आता है. But the point is, if you are truthful to the moment, then you don't have to say that I have to unlearn English to say lavatory. You just have to be in that town, feel you are this teacher who is a mild con man with a good heart, I suppose. At the end of the day, he was extremely generous and started this whole Dunki movement within them. Just believe. At the end of the day, just believe. I don't think acting is that difficult if you can just switch off the power to impress people, because you're not impressing anyone. All you got to do is satisfy a character. And once you do that, it's not that difficult. Honestly, people make out a big deal of it. It's not difficult. It's only about being truthful in your lying.
Right. Okay. So you played a Punjabi in Khosla Khosla. You played a Punjabi in Lage Raho Munna Bhai.
Right.
And now you're playing a Punjabi in Dunki as well.
Right.
Maybe I think there's something about Punjabis that you really like, because you look like one as well. You behave like one too.
If you go down the road from Mumbai North, go to the Punjab, and then just round the corner is Iran. It's not very far. And we're all connected in one way. So maybe I do look like a Punjabi. I played South Indian characters also. I don't know whether it is important to understand that playing a character is about being a Punjabi. Playing a character is about being a very specific human being who thinks very differently from everybody else. That is playing a character. Then he can have an accent that can come from Tibet. I don't care. What's that person all about? What are his motivations in life? What does he want out of life? What are his wounds? Why is he operating in a way from other people that's different than the rest of the world? What are his flaws? You've got to identify those things. That actually makes a character, not necessarily an accent or an ethnicity. I really feel that the ethnicity and the accent is just the crust, the outside. The moment you figure out the inside, the outside actually becomes very easy, to be very honest. So I don't look at it about Punjabi as being the biggest hurdle in getting the character right. There are millions of Punjabis. I can't be like all of them. I have to be like one Punjabi. And what does that Punjabi think? How does he sleep at night? What is his worldview? What is his sense of ethics? Simple. And what drives him? If I figure that out, life becomes extremely easy. Accents, an acting, a dialect coach can teach you. The soul, only the actor himself can figure out.
I just mentioned, say, 3 Punjabi characters. We've spoken about Well Done Abba. You played a Hyderabadi in that, and no one can doubt the fact how I think authentic you are, Shyam Banigal, the entire milieu, the diction. So I had one question for you. Knowing how important it is for you to be respectful towards the craft that you pursue.
Right.
How important is for you to be respectful towards the culture that you are trying to portray? Like, for example, when you're playing a Hyderabadi, for example, or you're playing a South Indian, or if you're playing a Punjabi, how important is it for you to actually absorb that culture, that maybe ethnicity, that region, to actually give it that authentic and timeless feel?
So I think you said the word. There has to be an authenticity. Now, that's the only respect that we can extend. But the other part, like if you turn around and say this character, say I played in Well Done Abba, was a liar. I can't make him into a non-liar. We don't never judge our characters. They are who they are with their flaws and all the bells and whistles that go with it. So I can't say that, no, we be respectful by making all the characters of a particular community doodh se dhule hue. I don't think that's right. They should have flaws. They should have problems, but you can never judge that character. For example, villains. There are bad people in the world. Now, if you're going to say we can't have a villain from a certain ethnicity, then we have a problem. And then we make it neutral. I don't think that's right. The respect that you have for an ethnicity is only by portraying it truthfully. The character need not be truthful. So when you look at Lagera Munna, it was very, very well received by the community. Very well received. They gave me a lot of respect and samman and shawls and whatnot. And the character was not the nicest person in the world. However, he did become a nicer guy. I don't know for how long, but he was not necessarily the nicest person. And that's wonderful, because not everybody, like if I'm portraying a Parsi, I don't have to make all Parsis upright. I don't. I'm not obliged to. And I don't think anybody from the Parsi community should turn around and say, oh, this particular Parsi that you played was a crook. Yeah, there's a crook. There's a crook everywhere. He's a human being after all, with failings. However, in cinema, it's always important for a certain kind of character, not an out-and-out villain, to show some change. And when you show change, Faridoon, there is hope for everybody. I always ask myself this question, that one of the most boring, angry, irritating, frowny characters that I've ever played is Virus. Why do people like Virus so much? And I've never really understood the answer. Why do children like Virus so much? He's such a pain in the where. He's a painful character. He's frowning, he's scowling, he's not saying a nice word to anyone. He's always putting people down. He's a little cold. He's a little dispassionate about most things. Then why is it that people like Virus? Can anybody even give it a thought? I don't have the perfect answer, but I have my own version of it, because I never understood why people like Virus so much. My thing is, people like Virus simply because he changed. And when we see change in a human being for the better, there is hope for everybody. It gives all of us hope that we can even change our own failings and faults. If Virus could change, being that angry, vicious person that he was, vitriolic, maybe I can change too for the better. And I think because Virus handed over the pen, and because Virus was, smiled at the end, and because Virus held his grandchild and said, "Tu footballer banega, terko jo bhi banna hai, ban. Footballer banega, footballer." And he say, "Okay, he can change. I like him. I'm rooting for him." If there is no change in the arc, I'm not so sure people would have loved Virus so much.
So I think Virus, the villainy of Virus is delicious. I think I feel that he's the Gabbar Singh in a way. I think the way he's getting his shave done,
Right.
and the way he tells Sharman that what are you waiting for? I think it's one of the coolest scenes ever, and I think that character is one of the most amazing characters that will be etched forever. So I've had the privilege of having meals with you, and I've observed your fantastic sense of humor, and you have this very, 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 I think, wonderful games that you like to play, quiz as well.
Right.
And you have, I think, a natural intellectual ability as well. But one thing that I've observed is that you're a very non-judgmental person towards everyone. You don't impose your intellectual ability as something superior, and you're very accepting of other people as well. In a way, do you feel that that's one of the reasons for your success as well?
I don't know about all that. All I'll say is about being non-judgmental. I mean, you're judging someone, someone's judging you. And why is someone judging you? Someone can judge you in a bad way. Someone can judge you and actually point out your faults. But is it up to us? And I tell you, in this day and age, especially in social media, we are judging everybody as if to say we are authorities on the other person's life, failings, and what that person should be or not should not be doing. I mean, take it easy. Now, when you ask me why am I not judgmental, is because I know I'm flawed. You are flawed. You know your flaws. If you don't, then we'll discover it someday when we get a little older. But when we grow and we realize that those flaws of ours become more and more pronounced, you say, I should have done something about my flaws. So your near and dear ones are allowed to point out those flaws. But being judgmental on an intellectual level is not fair at all. Just because I do quizzes doesn't make me intellectual. I do a quiz every single day. I like knowledge. But at the same time, if someone is not as intellectually, I don't like to use that word, but say on par, there are people who are way ahead of me intellectually. Now, are they judging me in the same token? I don't think so, because I think to each his own. And let me tell you one more thing. The cleverest of people in the world, the most intellectual people in the world, the most intelligent need not be the most intelligent people. Intelligent people are the ones who find inner happiness. That's real intelligence. If you're going to sit and say, oh, that guy, not my kind of guy. Okay. What am I doing? I'm wasting my own time. What am I doing? I'm not even being of any use to that person because I've passed a judgment on someone by turning my face away or telling other people how not so very smart that person is. What good does that do to anyone? A simple human being with simple knowledge can be far more intelligent than you are or I am, simply because that person knows how to lead a good life. For me, that is intelligence. You can have all the knowledge in the world, Faridoon. Doesn't make you nicer than anyone.
Amazing. All right. So I've spoken to you about Raju sir at length.
Right.
And I think almost all the stories. And the most beautiful part is that what we have in our conversations on camera, there are so many more stories that we have discussed off camera.
Right.
But we have discussed that. So I think maybe what I was thinking was, you worked with Shah Rukh Khan in several films. You
Right.
also played a villain opposite Shah Rukh Khan as well in Dawn.
Right.
So I would just like to know your thoughts about Shah Rukh Khan. I believe when you guys were staying in the same hotel and he came down to your room and he said that I'm just in the room opposite you, and I'm also the producer of the film. What are your impressions about Shah Rukh?
I think Shah Rukh understands where he came from. I think I'm judging. Maybe I may be wrong, but he understands what it is for a person to be doing one of their first films in the film industry, and how one is treated, not as a commodity, not as a person who's supplying something. That person is supplying his talent, is supplying his art, his being, and there's a certain amount of nervousness and anxiousness of how one will perform. I think what Shah Rukh does is understands that. Shah Rukh has a good memory. Shah Rukh speaks of his early days with great love and great fascination. Not that he's become successful, but the fact that those early days meant so much for him, whether it's in school or whether it's in college, whether it's in drama school, or whether it was his first day at the shoot and how, he may have felt. I think he empathizes with that. So when people come onto his set, I think he feels it is incumbent upon him to make sure that the atmosphere on the set is good, because that's good for the film. Even when he's not the producer on the film, he is like the producer on this film. It's a Shah Rukh Khan film. At the end of the day, people are walking in, people feeling nice. There's a certain energy. When he's arrived, nobody's petrified. People are looking forward to his arrival. And then we can start cracking jokes. He will always start with a joke. Always. And more often than not, the magic bullet of all that Shah Rukh fires is a joke on himself. This is the greatest talent that he has. Whether it's about, you've seen him standing on a stool and next to Deepika and doing hosting. How much more naked and bare can a person be about who he is? We've had also, I think it also makes a difference about conversations late at night. And yes, it is always late at night with Shah Rukh Khan, whether you like it or not. He likes to talk. I like to talk, and we're sharing. He's a parent. I'm a parent. We talk about our family lives. We talk about career. We talk about what we want to do. There is no other conversation in this world that two people can have that won't have value. Or what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want in life? Right? Like I discussed about the other characters that I may play. What is it that we need to do with ourselves? I tell you, those conversations for me are very, very important to understand you. Human beings not turning around and say, oh, I am that kind of person. I don't like waking up late in the morning. Those aren't conversations. I like wearing this. I like wearing... Those aren't conversations. True conversations about people who are bearing their soul and telling you where they came from and where they want to go and what they hope to do with themselves as artists and as human beings. And we share those beautiful, beautiful memories. And same goes with Raju. The same guy. He's the same guy you saw 20 years ago. The same way he pulls on his shirt and the only thing he thinks of is, what is the subject of my next film? And then how am I going to explore that subject? He's done six movies. I'm not very good with numbers, but if you count, there's 6 movies in 20 years. And I did mention it on the day of the release of Dunki. I said, why only 6 movies in 20 years? Are you lazy? No. Raju doesn't shoot movies most of the time. He's thinking about the script. He spends most of his time thinking and writing. That's all he does. Shooting takes 70, 80, 90 days. So when you look at the average, what's he doing? He's only surrendering to a theme. Be it what he did in Three Idiots, or be it what he did about education and excellence. Even in Dunki, for example, the thing that moved him most is why do we need visas? Who should stop someone saying, this is my border, ye meri sarhad hai, aap nahi aa sakte yahan pe. He says, there was a world not many years ago that had no visas. So it is just this last 150 years or 100 years, maybe even less, I don't know, I'm not good at numbers, I keep repeating myself. And that bothers him because that takes away the understanding of fellow human beings. There's a sense of propriety in this world, and it's correct. People build their cities and whatnot. But what a beautiful world it would be if I don't have to worry about going somewhere else. And basically it's not about visas. It's not about immigration. It's about the humanity you show to your fellow human being. And with this whole present escalations of conflict here and there, people need refuge. My grandmother, Faridoon, was a refugee. I did not realize it till the definition came up about 15 years ago, when people are sitting in boats and going from one country to another with great difficulty. My grandmother and my grandfather took a sailboat from Iran to India. And these are not the people who were born during biblical times. I met them. I met these people. So they came, they worked hard, they made a life. And let me tell you, when you travel, you give your best because you've got no safety net. You've got no comfort zone. So my grandfather was a table boy. He went on to do pretty decently for himself. But you work your hardest when you're uprooted and go to other places. So anyway, these are lovely subjects. I was talking about Raju. I don't know why I veered into this. But Raju takes a subject. Raju took the whole subject of the medical fraternity in Munna by MBBS and he made it into a most beautiful thing. He makes it the most beautiful thing about humanity at the end of the day. The medical fraternity, okay, the problems that come up, क्या आदमी मरने पड़ा तो फॉर्म भरना जरूरी है क्या? Okay, I'm listening. So the audience sits up like that. Hey, I've been there. So you immediately connected with an audience. And then you turn around and say, what about the humanity? And believe me, I've met so many doctors in my time who say, I've been hugely impacted by the movie. I've changed. And so many young doctors who were MBBS students back in the day when the movie came out and today say, I follow the tenets of Munna by MBBS. So people who turn around and say that movies are not meant to change you, I think we are probably wrong. Movies are meant to entertain, sure. What Raju does is he entertains and brings about a change in you to be a little more human.
No, absolutely. I think even 3 Idiots, for example, I think your life is, especially your professional life, is a testimony to the fact that excellence ko pursue karo, success jhak maar ke tumhare piche aayegi. So I think that's exactly what you have been doing. All right, so you told me about a yardstick of success, especially when you're traveling, that was set by your mother. And she used to ask you that, did you receive love? And you said that yes. And did you receive respect?
Yes.
So you used to say yes. So that is the yardstick of success. So when it comes to Shah Rukh Khan, for example, he has been the producer of, say, Happy New Year. And even Dunki is one of the producers. Have you received the love and respect from Shah Rukh Khan?
Oh, lots. My God, of course. If I didn't feel it, I wouldn't be able to speak about that person the way I do. Lots. It's very, very mutual. He understands where I come from. He's respectful of what I do. He's respectful of what I can contribute to a film. And I think there's a human affection in the story. So at the end of the day, what my mother says is absolutely right. You might want to do this, you might want to do that, you might want to conquer the world. But at the end of the day, did you have love and respect? Did you find happiness in that?
Right.
Yeah, sure. Shah Rukh, I think I have great love and respect for him too. The way he speaks as an ambassador of not only just the film industry, but the country in many ways. When he goes out there and you see and he opens his mouth, you know something really, really smart is going to come out of it. That the interviewer, or wherever he is, in any corner of the world, will say, okay, I like what this guy is saying. I am impressed. And when he impresses the world, India is impressed in the same token. He's an ambassador.
Right. Okay. And for several years now, people have been writing obituaries for Shah Rukh Khan. And I think the biggest example of that is when people start discussing your earlier work. कि वो DDLJ में जो आपने किया था, that means that in the sense कि अभी हो गया आपका. And then he has 2023 where he delivers 3 huge hits.
Right.
And completely reinvents the whole idea of stardom or superstardom in more ways than one. How do you look at this phenomenal turnaround?
Look, I don't think that the people who are sitting and deciding the fate and timeline of Shah Rukh Khan have anything to do with this. And let me say this, much
Right.
as I find it difficult to say this, but let's imagine he did not have these 3 great hits. So what? Do we judge Shah Rukh Khan by what happens only today? Only by the 3 hits? No, we respect him even more for his tenacity. But legacy? Man, you can't mess around with that. So people who, I don't think Shah Rukh is trying to tell someone, you were writing me off, I'll show you. I think he's a busy guy. He wants to be busy. He likes entertaining people. He likes seeing the joy on people's faces. I've seen him. He likes seeing the joy on people's faces when he's walking by them, when he's waving out to the world from Munna. I don't think, I think it's after a while it should not become something that's very personal. It's got to do with the public at the end of the day. He's delivering for the joy of the public. Let me tell you, for every single person who was writing, I don't like to use the word arbitrary side, but I used it already, who was saying that, okay, DDLJ was great, so basically you are a thing of the past. For every one, there are 10,000 who say, we want Shah Rukh Khan to keep entertaining us. So why are we concentrating on the people who are writing him off? Concentrate on the people who are praying that he'll continue to entertain us. Not that it's a personal, of course it's a personal thing that, you did well and your career is, back in full force and all of that. But it is the fact that they are happy for a guy who's given them so much and can give them more. Eventually, and this is again what my mother had to say, that God may have given you talent or a certain kind of charisma, not so that you satisfy your own ego, and to a certain extent, that holds true. But the talent is for the public, for them to enjoy it, for the joy that they receive. I mean, these numbers wouldn't matter after a while. Does anybody know how much money Munna by MBBS made? Not very much, but the legacy of the joy that it gave people is what is all enduring forever. So that's what I look at Shah Rukh Khan's, this 2023. He's done this, let's call it a comeback, chalo na, if it satisfies people. But I think he enjoys sharing himself with the world. This is my take on it.
So you've played several characters in your career, sir, which have villainous streak. But a character which is coming to my mind where you actually having action as well is Vardaan in Dawn.
Right.
And that's you're just having this battle with Shah Rukh Khan over there as well. Did you enjoy it? And was it a different sort of experience?
Oh, it was
from
great.
the world?
It was great. Acting does something to human beings that they can explore the whole spectrum of humanity, from the worst kind of people to the best kind of people. And Vardaan, there was a vicious side to that character that, vicariously you do enjoy playing people who you aren't, because you're playing that person who you are every day of your life, every moment of your life. And you're playing something that you aren't. So playing Vardaan with Dawn with Shah Rukh was quite amazing. The fight sequences, the rehearsals, the knife fights, the training is quite incredible. For that matter, lots of action happened, believe it or not. The most amount of action I did with Shah Rukh was in Happy New Year, believe it or not. Sliding down things, getting drowned in for one room, coming out of it, flying out of a gutter, landing on, in the muck. My body used to really, really hate, and he helped me through it. But I think action is great fun. I'll tell you why action is great fun. As you grow older, and you feel that you're not the guy you were 20 years ago, a movie makes you feel like the guy you were 20 years ago. And there's a certain masculinity about it. And masculinity that is not provided, or I don't provide myself in my day-to-day life. So doing movies like that where you're tumbling and falling and hitting and bleeding, as a certain man, I think that's fun. I like playing the guy, the mean guy. It's nice. I don't like mean guys in real life, but I like playing the mean guy.
Right. So I think a lot is being said about, lot has been said now and again about your fantastic acting skills and the fact that you're a legend and you've had some amazing performances.
What is my career over or what? They're
pers-
talking to me about like
No,
DDLJ.
sir. I think you've just started. You have just started. You have just started. So I personally feel that maybe enough has not been said about your voice as a tool. I think you've got a brilliant voice, very effective voice that conveys emotions in an amazing manner, and especially that granular, thick, bassy voice that you have. Would you like to say something about your voice and voice modulation? How important is it for you, and how crucial is it for you to just modulate your voice as per the character that you're playing?
It's a tool. Use it as a tool, not as a sword. And I say this very, 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 very judiciously, simply because when you develop a voice, and my voice has got everything to do with the breathing, and I continue to do breathing every morning. Because if you breathe diaphragmatically, automatically when you breathe out, your voice becomes of a certain quality. Not anywhere near Nasir Bhai or Mr. Bachchan's voice, but however, in my case, I'd rather use it as a tool than as a sword, because once we get stuck with that voice and we start falling in love with your own voice, there is no way that you can use it as a tool. There's a distinction I make over here, because if I'm playing a certain character, say I'm playing Batuk Patel, all right, in a houseful, I have to surrender to that character.
Right.
I can't say, no, but what about my voice? How can Batuk Patel speak in this voice? So one has to use the different registers because a good voice doesn't mean one tone. A good voice means you can use different registers in your scale. It's like a piano, right? Also, what you said is conveying emotions. Use your voice as a tool to convey emotions. If I'm vulnerable and I'm scared, I cannot use a baritone. You can, but it's difficult. You will have to have a quiver and use a register of the voice that will convey the truth of the moment. Now, that's all I'm interested in. The truth, the moment of truth in a scene. If I am angry, I will use my voice again in a particular way. But you can use anger even in a low hiss. So use the voice as a tool, not as a sword to say, what a nice voice. And that's the very reason why people don't say anything when you're the only person, which is great. I'm very happy that people don't recognize and say, oh, nice voice. It doesn't make any difference to me. How is the voice being used is what is more important to me.
Sir, we've spoken about your directorial venture, both off camera and on camera. You've been working on it for some time now, and I think the most important part that why I'm very very excited and looking forward to it, because I think if any filmmaker can work very hard on the writing of his project, then obviously it's a project that is worth looking forward to, and you've been assiduously and extremely, I think in a concentrated, not concentrated, but in an extremely, I think, evolved manner, you've been pursuing your scripting of the film. So, what is the latest on the directorial venture, sir? And how special is it for you?
Oh, very special. See, I think what you said, you've kind of answered my question in the question itself. And I think it boils down to what Billy Wilder said. Billy Wilder, one of the greatest writer-directors in the history of cinema. And he said, please don't make a big deal about directors. I mean, my apologies. This is Billy Wilder speaking, not me. But he said, if the director did not have a great script, what does he direct out of? A phone book? So, I think that's one of the great quotes that got me going as far as the script is concerned. Now, when you see my film, hopefully in a few months from now, you'll turn around and say, why did it take you so long to write a simple little film? The other day, Shankar Mahadevan met me and he said, the most difficult thing to write is a simple tune. I was speaking to Atul Kasbekar the other day about photographs. The most difficult photograph is the simple photograph because you don't have anything to, no crutches. So my film in many ways is a simple but layered film. And it took me so long, and thank you for all those words that you used. It took me so long to get where I wanted to go is not because I was writing the near perfect film, far from it. I was learning how to write. And it's a lesson that I learned as a young man, that just because I've been in the industry for 20 years, it does not automatically give me the graduation or qualification to write a film. Just because I've been in the industry for 20 years, I may have a certain amount of experience, but definitely not as a writer and definitely not as a director. You have got to start again from -1, then get to ground level and then keep going up as much as you can. So it took me a long time to understand the vagaries of writing. So I studied writing as a student. Took me years. And if you see the film, it's simple enough. It's human enough. It's as they say in good writing, take a simple thing and complicate it. So the only way you can tell a good story is tell a simple story that everybody can identify with, and then you complicate it and make it interesting to watch. So it took me a lot of time to understand structure. How do you structure a film? I didn't know. How do you have a character arc? I've heard that before, but it comes in the script. How do you talk about a character's flaws? You've got to invent them. How do you talk about a character's want? There has to be one definite want these are all the little nuts and bolts that are required to put into a script. It could be the simplest of scripts in the world, but these requirements are there. You've got to get all your saman, your masala, your chawal, your whatever, your gosht, everything to make a great biryani, right? But first you must understand that these are the ingredients, and then you should know in what ratio do you mix it to make a great biryani and how much time it takes to cook it. So that's what a script does for you. And I'm proud I took a lot of time. I take time for everything. It's taken me 44 years to become a movie actor. It took me 35 years to become a theatre actor. It's taken me 10 years to be a writer. And it's taken me 64 years and grandparent twice over to be a director. But that's my timeline.
Yeah.
And that's my timeline. And nobody should tell me, why did you take so long to do it? Because I'm happy the way I am. And so this year we'll have a film that I have written, produced and directed. And I am extremely proud of it. I'm extremely proud of the process. The rest is finding truth, finding honesty. Don't show off.
Amazing.
Don't show off. Because people are not impressed by show-offs. People are impressed by something that moves them, something they identify with. And I hope that's where I've placed all my money. I placed my bets on that.
All right. So you mentioned that you're making this film, first film at the age of 64. You've worked with Vidhu Vinod Chopra. He has directed you earlier in a club here.
Right.
Personally, I've had a lot of respect for him as a producer. And after Parinda, I felt that maybe his directorial ventures fell a bit flat. But he stunned, I think, one and all with 12th Fail at the age of 71.
Right.
Do you find it inspiring in a way to have the sort of energy that he's having? I feel he's like a debutant right now.
So the one thing that Vidhu Vinod Chopra has is an energy like none other. You see, he's always running from one room to another. He's always saying 10 minutes for this, 15 minutes, then he'll go on his exercise machine. He'll come back after half an hour. They'll sit and he'll talk about some music. Then he'll go. I mean, I don't know how his brain works at that speed. But what he's done with 12th Fail is pretty incredible. And again, for anyone to say, oh, he's 71. No, he doesn't think he's 71. Why should you? And why should I? He just feels that he's this little kid who's out of FTII, who's actually making, and you're absolutely right, he's actually making his debut film. Because every film is like a debut film. It should be like that. if you feel you know how to make films, you've not understand mankind. If you know after 5 hits that now whatever I make is going to be great, be careful. Be careful, because you have let down your guard, and you've let down and your safety net has become bigger and stronger. You don't need a safety net. It is only when you don't have a safety net is that you do. Like I spoke about refugees, like the great scene in The Dark Knight when he's in the cave and there's an old man looking up to him and he's having that rope behind him, and he's climbing, and he tries to clutch it and he falls and he just can't go up that cave. And then that guy says the only way to go up that cave is remove that safety rope, because then you have to cling onto that. So I think Vinod Chopra, it feels like that. Like, there is no safety net for him. And when you don't have a safety net, believe me, there is excellence without doubt. People who have safety nets are always hedging. Always hedging.
Amazing. So before we get into rapid fire, I have one more question for you. So as your mother said, love and respect, yardstick for success. I saw one of your interviews, you said that money is not something that defines success or greatness for you. If you see a painting, for example,
yes,
you're more interested in looking at the colors and the way it has been structured rather than worrying about what is the price of that painting.
Right.
Similarly, what is the importance of finding a meaning in life, a sense of purpose in what you're doing, and how does it change over the years?
I'll just speak a little about the painting thing that you mentioned again. People go to Sistine Chapel and see Michelangelo's work up there. Everybody's looking up there with, oh my God, it took him 18 years. And you know how much he got paid? Okay, he made a loss on it because he did not realize the amount of money he spent on the paint was more than the money that he got. But people are watching it centuries later and saying, this is the finest work of art. So after a while, money will not matter. Of course, you need to have money to provide and have a good life also. One needs to sit around and enjoy life. There's a meaning of life for a person who's 15 years old, 16 years old, because his thrust and drive is incumbent upon people who are around him, or maybe he's independent or she's independent and has a certain meaning of life at that point of time, and that's that person's moment of truth. When you're in 25, 30, and when you get married, then you have to provide, and that becomes your meaning of life. When you're my age, I think it boils down to what is going to be your legacy. And for me,
right,
the greatest thing in the world for me right now is legacy, because if we have gained so much from an industry, I have gained. I may not have achieved as much as I have gained for what the industry has given me. There is lots of love, there's lots of respect, and then there are a whole slew of people who are the ticket-going public, and let's call them fans. I'm sorry, I don't like that word, but let's call them who give so much. So, how do you give back? How do you give back is that person's yardstick of success. That person's I've started something called Spiral Bound. I'm not so sure if you're aware of it, but
yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah, so Spiral Bound is something that's dearest to my heart, and as I mentioned a little while ago, that writing is the bedrock of good cinema. So we have some wonderful directors, and we have some wonderful cinematographers, and some wonderful actors, and we have some great writers. But I think that many people sidestep or just ignore that aspect, and people struggle with it because it's a difficult craft. So whatever I learned in the process of writing my film through my dear friend Alex Dinelaris, who was my guru and my co-writer and the person who helped write my film. He's an Oscar winner. He wrote The Birdman. He won an Oscar for that, and he's a very, very dear friend of mine.
Right.
I've learned a lot from Alex Dinelaris. Now, whatever I knew, I put in my notebook and made notes. Now, those notes should not be good enough for just one script, which is mine. They should be good enough for a whole generation of new writers to share tips, techniques, philosophies of writing. So we've completed 675 online sessions since the pandemic. That's almost 200 plus sessions a year. That's a hell of a lot of hit rate for screenwriting.
Right.
There is no entrance test. Someone needs to recommend you. You give me a phone number, we put you on the list, and you can attend. There's no fee. There is nothing except please come, leave your cameras on because you're in class. It is not like a podcast. It's not like an Instagram live. So you're expected to sit and have the decorum that you would have in a class. And this is, for me, my happiness because I'm capable of sharing and giving back. For me, it's important to me. When I come out of the class and I'm very happy and Zenobia asks me, so what happened? Fantastic class today. And she smiles and says, yeah, that's good. It's almost like you came and said you did an Oscar winning performance. Yeah, for me, it is important because it brings me joy. It brings me happiness and it's productive. The main thing, it's productive. Some person somewhere will pick up one of those tenets, one of those philosophies or one of those techniques, and hopefully in the coming years write 5 scripts that we can all be proud of as a nation. That's it.